In recent months, her gym outings had become increasingly prolonged, extending until late hours of the night. And when I asked her about it, she always responded with that phrase that ate away at me inside. "I'm just going to gym. Don't be insecure, love." I, as the protagonist of this nightmare, started to notice small details that didn't add up, like the smell of men's cologne on her workout clothes or the constant notifications on her phone that she ignored with a forced smile. But I tried to convince myself that they were my paranoias, born of my excessive love for her, every time she arrived exhausted, with her hair perfectly styled, despite the supposed sweat from the intense workout. My instinct screamed that something was wrong, but the fear of losing her kept me silent, watching as our daily life transformed into a routine of veiled lies. It was on one of those solitary nights, while I ate dinner alone in front of the television, when I decided to check the shared location app on her phone, a gesture we had agreed on for family safety, and what I saw left me frozen. Instead of the gym, her blue was blinking in an unknown apartment on the other side of the city. That first night of discovery was a whirlwind of contradictory emotions. My heart was pounding hard as I zoomed in on the map on the screen, confirming that it wasn't an error, that Laura had been there for hours, leaving much later than any gym session would justify. I remembered all the times she had told me, "I'll be late because the personal trainer is giving me extra classes to get me in shape," and like me, trusting and in love, I prepared healthy dinners for her when she returned, without suspecting that those extra classes were in the arms of another man. The location app didn't lie, recording every stop, every minute in that luxurious residential building where she supposedly knew no one. And while I sank into the sofa with the phone trembling in my hands, the pieces of the puzzle started to fit together. The inconsistencies in her health app, which showed steps and calories burned that didn't match the distances traveled on the map. I decided not to confront her yet, because I knew she would deny everything with that innocent look that had blinded me for years. So I meticulously saved screenshots, marking the date and time of every accumulated lie. That night, when she came to the door with her gym bag and a quick kiss on the cheek, I pretended normality, but inside I swore I wouldn't rest until I had the whole truth in my hands. The next day, the weight of the betrayal prevented me from concentrating at work. Every coffee break was an excuse to check the synced apps again, noticing that Laura's health metrics indicated prolonged sedentary activity in that mysterious apartment, not the intense cardio she proclaimed on her social media. The man who had built a stable life with her, buying our dream house and planning children. Now I felt like a naive fool, mentally reviewing all the ignored signals, the messages quickly deleted, the eternal showers upon arriving home, the new workout wardrobe that seemed more for seducing than for training. I secretly hired an advanced phone monitoring service, disguised as a family security update, and soon I confirmed that the owner of the apartment was Marcos, her personal trainer, an athletic guy in his 30s who posted motivational photos on Instagram with smiling clients. For weeks I documented everything. Location screenshots showing repetitive patterns from gym afternoons to occasional early mornings that she justified as nighttime classes to not interfere with my schedule. My pain was transforming into cold determination, knowing that this infidelity not only broke our bond, but threatened everything we had built together. The following nights were a silent hell. Laura continued with her routine of lies, kissing me before leaving with increasingly elaborate excuses. Like today, we're doing functional circuit. Love, don't worry. While I checked in real time how her location veered toward that fateful apartment. In the health app, the inconsistencies were blatant. Elevated heart rates that didn't correspond to exercise, but to passionate encounters and calories that didn't justify the reported hours, revealing periods of inactivity on an unknown sofa or bed. I was becoming an obsessive detective, saving every piece of evidence in an encrypted folder, from photos of her car parked near the building to records of frequent calls to unsaved numbers. I remembered our wedding vows, how she swore eternal love at the altar, and now that same mouth lied shamelessly about innocent activities, destroying my trust. Brick by brick, I decided not to break down emotionally yet. Instead, I discreetly contacted a lawyer specialized in contentious divorces, explaining the situation with the first evidences, and he advised me to document exhaustively to protect my assets and prevent her from hiding them during the process. By the end of that first week of intensive surveillance, I had a preliminary dossier that would make any judge pale. Overlaid maps of false versus real locations, graphs of manipulated or ignored health apps, and even preliminary testimonies from building neighbors that I confirmed via social media. Laura, unaware of my transformation from trusting husband to truth hunter, continued flirting with me at dinner, touching my hand and saying, "You're the best. Thanks for understanding my workouts," which only fueled my contained rage. I responded with fake smiles, planning each step with a lawyer, who was already preparing the initial divorce papers based on proven infidelity, assuring me that the digital proofs would be irrefutable in court. Marcos' apartment had become the epicenter of my calculated revenge, a place she visited with a perfect gym excuse, but that I now knew better than my own home. My decision was made. I wouldn't give her time to destroy evidence or transfer assets. I would confront her with everything ready, turning her betrayal into her absolute ruin. The following weeks turned into a routine of deception and meticulous collection. Every morning, I reviewed the overnight location app, screenshots, seeing how Laura left the gym directly to Marcos' apartment, spending hours that she justified with edited photos of weights and machines that she never really used. My role as victim protagonist deepened in silent agony, sleeping little and eating less, while she returned radiant, smelling of post-sex lotion, disguised as sports deodorant, and I pretended interest in her fake anecdotes about CrossFit routines, which didn't match the sedentary data from her health app. The lawyer Roberto guided me step by step. Keep documenting. Every inconsistency in heart rates and calories is irrefutable proof that she wasn't exercising, but doing something else. And I obeyed religiously, creating detailed timelines that correlated her precise locations with hastily deleted messages and patterns of late arrivals that bordered on midnight. Laura started to notice my emotional distance, asking me with that syrupy voice, "Are you okay, love? Don't be insecure about the gym. It's just to keep me in shape for you," repeating the phrase that now made me nauseous, like an echo of her hypocrisy that resonated in the walls of our shared home. In secret, I expanded my surveillance by installing a discreet tracker in her car, confirming that the route to supposed gym was a deliberate detour to Marcos' building, where her phone temporarily disconnected to avoid detection, but the family location. App kept betraying her mercilessly. My transformation from trusting husband to relentless detective advanced without pause. During the day at the office, I paused meetings to note new evidences like health app notifications showing spikes of activity followed by long periods of immobility in the apartment, compatible with intimate encounters more than with grueling workouts. I remember the nights when Laura arrived with elaborate excuses. Like today, the trainer gave me a double session because I want to surprise myself for our anniversary, and I, still with a remnant of blind love, massaged her feet, pretending to believe her, while mentally cataloging every lie for the growing dossier like an unstoppable snowball. Roberto, the lawyer, reviewed my weekly progress via encrypted video call, praising the solidity of the screenshots. "This looks headed for an express divorce with favorable partition." Her repeated visits to the lover's home are admissible as proof of flagrant infidelity. Laura, unaware of everything, intensified her domestic flirting, cooking my favorite dishes and whispering promises of future, but her eyes betrayed a guilty gleam that only fueled my determination not to give her a second to react. One night, while reviewing the live data, I saw her location stabilize in the apartment for 4 hours straight with minimal calories burned, and I swore that would be the drop that would overflow the glass of my exhausted patience. The tension at home escalated subtly. Laura began to question my access to the shared apps, suggesting with false sweetness, maybe we should disable the location. Love to have more privacy, but I deflected the topic with jokes about family safety, buying precious time to accumulate more irrefutable proofs. In parallel, I investigated Marcos' social media profile, discovering subtle photos of Laura tagged in fake gyms, but comments from his friends insinuating intense training nights that confirmed my worst suspicions, all archived in my encrypted folder along with overlaid maps and manipulated health metrics graphs. Roberto accelerated the preparation of the divorce papers, sending me preliminary drafts that detail the division of assets, freezing of joint accounts, and exclusive custody of our shared properties, emphasizing that timing was key. Confront when everything is ready, without warning so she doesn't hide anything. I nodded in silence, reliving happy memories of our honeymoon, now tainted by the reality of her betrayal, and planned the perfect dinner for the final confrontation, where her world would crumble under the weight of the accumulated digital evidence. Every gym outing of hers was now my victory, one more brick in the fortress of proofs that would leave her without legal or emotional defense. Halfway through this exhaustive surveillance period, an incident arose that almost ruined everything. Laura left her phone unlocked by mistake while showering, and I saw an incoming message from Marco saying, "I can't wait to see you tomorrow." My gym news deleted seconds later, but I captured the notification in time to add it to the dossier. My heart raced with a mix of rage and triumph, knowing that this textual proof perfectly complemented the locations and inconsistent health data, turning my case into a complete puzzle for any judge. She came out of the shower wrapped in a towel, noticing my tense expression, and hugged me saying, "Don't be insecure, love. Everything is fine with the trainer. Just fitness motivation." But her words bounced off me like bullets on armor, while I mentally reviewed the master plan with Roberto. The weeks of documentation had hardened me. I was no longer the naive victim, but a calculating man ready to reclaim his life, with screenshots of entire weeks, showing irrefutable patterns of infidelity under the gym disguise. Night, alone in bed, while she slept, I reviewed the progress more than 50 pages of evidences ready to print and serve with the divorce papers, ensuring she wouldn't have time to deny or hide assets. The eve of the confrontation arrived loaded with a tense calm that only I perceived. Laura announced another intensive gym session for that afternoon, kissing me with lips that still held the taste of accumulated lies, while I reviewed the complete dossier one last time. Now a mammoth of more than 100 pages with chronological screenshots from the location app, showing systematic detours to Marcos' apartment for months. My lawyer Roberto had finalized the divorce papers, that morning sending them to me via encrypted email. Inequitable division of assets in my favor due to proven infidelity, immediate freezing of joint accounts, and a preliminary order to prevent hidden transfers. Everything ready to notify with a court messenger. That same night, I pretended absolute normality, preparing her favorite protein shake and wishing her success in the workout love, knowing that her phone was already marking the usual detour with the health app, recording prolonged sedentarism again, disguised as vigorous exercise. The office, I printed everything in secret, organizing the evidences in thematic folders, timelines of false locations, graphs of inconsistencies in calories and heart rates that screamed illicit passion, and even subtle bank statements suggesting expenses on unshared lingerie. That afternoon, while her blood stabilized in the trader's building, I returned home early, placing the documents on the dining room table, like a perfectly laid ambush, transforming myself from passive victim into relentless executioner. The return of the aura was punctual to her deception pattern, entering with the sports bag hanging from her shoulder and a radiant smile that froze upon seeing the stacks of papers on the table, illuminated by the dim light of the sunset filtering through the curtains. I was sitting there within, open folder, showing the first treacherous location screenshot, and I said to her with a calm but firm voice, "Sit down, Laura. No more gym excuses." She stammered something about "What is this?" "Love. Don't be insecure again." But I interrupted her by unfolding the overlaid map that traced months of detours to Marcos' apartment, related to health app data that evidenced hours of horizontal immobility instead of vertical cardio. Her eyes widened upon recognizing the exact dates, the precise hours she had justified as extra classes with the trainer. And while she leafed through the pages trembling, she saw the irrefutable graphs, elevated heart rates, not from weights, but from stolen kisses, minimal calories for supposedly grueling sessions. I didn't give her time to deny. I pulled out the already signed divorce contract by me, explaining with surgical precision how Roberto had ensured that the digital proofs were admissible in court, freezing her accounts instantly and assigning me the house, the car, and most of the savings due to her flagrant adultery. Laura collapsed in the chair, murmuring, "It was just an affair. Please, we can fix it." But I shook my head, revealing the tracker in her car and the captured messages that sealed her legal fate without escape. The confrontation intensified when she tried to manipulate the narrative, sobbing, "I love you. It was a gym mistake that got out of control." Don't destroy everything because of your insecurity. But I cut her off with more evidences. Photos of her car chronically parked in front of the building, printed testimonies from neighbors who had seen her enter and leave at odd hours, and a financial summary showing small withdrawals coinciding with visits to the lover. My voice remained icy, reciting the legal articles that Roberto had highlighted. Infidelity documented with geolocation and biometric data leaves you without arguments. Laura, the papers are already on their way to the court, and a detective confirms that today you were 4 hours with Marcos. She stood up furious, screaming, "I'll delete everything. I'll change the passwords." But I smiled for the first time in months, showing the notarized certified copy delivered that morning along with cloud backups accessible only by me and the lawyer. The health app inconsistencies that she had ignored or clumsily manipulated now condemned her periods of low physical activity in a foreign home, incompatible with any legitimate gym. Roberto had foreseen every counterattack, including a no-contact clause that would force her to vacate the house in 48 hours, leaving her lies exposed like a house of cards collapsed by the accumulated digital truth. While tears ran down her still fresh makeup from the workout, Laura begged for a second chance, evoking memories of our wedding and broken promises. But I handed her the final envelope with a list of frozen assets, the joint savings account empty of surprises, the car my exclusive name, and the house whose mortgage I paid alone. Everything shielded against last-minute hidings. Your favorite phrase, "don't be insecure," was the key to your perfect disguise. But the apps don't lie like you. I told her activating the location app live that was still blinking in Marcos' apartment, confirming that he was waiting for her, ignorant of the unleashed storm. She collapsed emotionally, admitting fragments of the truth between sobs. Marcos made me feel alive. The gym was the ideal excuse. Forgive me, but my weeks of documentation had immunized me against the drama, focusing on the legal facts that left her without time to destroy proofs or transfer a single cent. The court messenger arrived punctual, handing her the official notification while I watched from the door, feeling not rage, but liberation upon seeing her world crumble due to her own decisions. Roberto called me minutes later to confirm receipt in court, ensuring an express process where her infidelity would be the final nail in the coffin at the end of that chaotic night. With Laura packing an improvised suitcase under the supervision of an officer, I reflected on my journey from initial doubt to this calculated victory. The meticulous screenshots, the secret consultations with Roberto, and the blatant inconsistencies of the APS had turned her betrayal into my absolute triumph, leaving her not only without a wife, but without resources to rebuild. She left into the cold night murmuring curses. But the irrefutable dossier guaranteed that any legal counterattack attempt would fail, with time-stamped digital evidences that no judge would ignore. I closed the door behind her, storing the papers in a secure drawer, knowing that Marcos' apartment would soon know the financial repercussions of their affair, since Roberto included accessory claims for alienation of affection. My transformation was complete from betrayed husband to empowered man, ready for a new chapter without shadows of fictional Jim. Phrase that once hurt me, now resonated as victory. I wasn't insecure. I was cautious, and her fall was living proof of it. The house, now solely mine, symbolized the end of the lies and the beginning of my recovered freedom. The days following the confrontation turned into a legal whirlwind that validated every meticulous location app screenshot and every inconsistency in the health app. Roberto, my lawyer, presented the complete dossier to the court that same week, arguing that the precise geolocations and sedentary biometric data in Marcos' apartment constituted irrefutable proof of prolonged infidelity, admissible according to recent jurisprudence on digital evidences in divorces. Laura tried to counterattack by hiring her own attorney, who alleged invasion of privacy due to the monitoring of shared apps. But the judge dismissed the objection upon confirming that the prior family consent and notarized backup shielded my position, immediately freezing all joint accounts and ordering an independent IT expert examination that ratified the authenticity of memo. Overlaid, I, as redeemed protagonist, attended the hearings with serenity, watching how the printed graphs showed months of detours to the fake gym, with elevated heart rates incompatible, with exercise and hours of immobility that screamed illicit encounters, strengthening my claims over house, the car, and the savings accumulated by my exclusive effort. Marcos was summoned as accessory witness, his ashamed expression confirming repeated visits without denying relationship, while Laura crumbled on the bench, murmuring excuses about motivational classes that no one believed anymore. The express process, driven by the digital solidity of the proofs, advanced without pauses, ensuring she had no chance to hide assets or destroy residual evidences. In the first formal hearing, the court expert analyzed the location app's screenshots live, projecting maps that traced irrefutable patterns, from the first lie to the confrontation night, correlating them with health metrics that evidenced passionate sedentarism instead of fitness routines, which the expert classified as conclusive expert proof of geolocated adultery. Laura sobbed before the court, her lawyer imploring mercy with emotional arguments about a gym slip-up, but Roberto counterattacked with subtle bank extracts of lingerie purchases, coinciding with apartment visits, plus neighbor testimonies of her sneaking in and out, all legally documented to avoid privacy challenges. I testified with a firm voice, reviewing how her phrase, "Don't be insecure," had been the perfect disguise for months, but the shared apps for family safety betrayed her without ambiguities, winning me the judge's sympathy, who ordered her belongings vacated in 24 hours and assigned me provisional custody of common assets. Marcos, under oath, admitted the affair partially, sealing his complicity and exposing possible alienation of affection claims that Roberto was already preparing in parallel. The courtroom resonated with the force of the treacherous technology, turning her double life into a public spectacle of inescapable consequences. Weeks later, the provisional ruling arrived like a balm to my pain transformed into justice. Immediate divorce due to proven infidelity with 70-30 asset division in my favor, given the exhaustive documentation of apps and expert reports, preventing any hidden transfer that Laura had planned in post-confrontation panic. She appealed desperately, alleging data manipulation, but the Superior Court ratified the digital evidences as authentic illicit, citing precedents where WhatsApp and geolocations had tipped scales in similar cases, leaving her accounts frozen and forcing her to rent a modest apartment while I retained the dream house. In parallel, her relationship with Marcos disintegrated under public scrutiny, he fleeing accessory lawsuits and she facing alone the accumulated debts from her gym disguise, without time or resources to rebuild. I, emerging strengthened, changed the family passwords and deleted the shared apps, symbolizing the closure of an era of lies. Roberto celebrated the victory with me emphasizing how my foresight had avoided common traps like the destruction of digital proofs. Laura sent me a final pleading message, but I archive it as a reminder, not as a door to reconciliation. The process culminated in the final hearing, where the judge issued absolute sentence, marital dissolution with minimal pension for her due to her documented adulterous conduct, exclusive custody of properties to me, and a legal warning against future harassment, backed by the expert report that validated every screenshot as irrefutable expert proof in the digital era. Laura left the courtroom pale, carrying boxes of her belongings under torrential rain, while I returned home now truly mine, feeling the weight lift from shoulders that had carried months of solitary surveillance. Marcos disappeared from her life, blocked by pending lawsuits, and she faced the reality of rebuilding from zero without the financial cushion her infidelity sought to preserve. My transformation from insecure victim to cautious victor was sealed on judicial paper with a dossier turned into precedent for future cases of geolocated betrayal. The location app, once treacherous ally, now rested deactivated in a drawer, silent witness to the end of her reign of deceptions. In the following months, my life was reborn without shadows of fictional Jim. I took up new hobbies. I went out with friends who applauded my legal astuteness and even started dating someone honest, free of shared apps that would betray falsehoods. Laura attempted indirect contacts via mutual acquaintances, but the court orders cut them off at the root, reminding her that her time to hide assets had expired irrevocably. Roberto closed the case with minimal bill, thanks to my impeccable documentation, advising me to publish the anonymized story as a warning to other naive husbands. I, protagonist of this odyssey, reflected in the reconquered solitude of my home, knowing that "don't be insecure" had been her epitaph and my vigilance, my absolute salvation. Marcos's apartment remained as a distant memory, a curse blued on forgotten maps. While,